It's Wednesday night. Welcome, 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 welcome. Good to see you, Mario. Wednesday night. Hope your week's going well. I know we got some good information, good
Oh
dialogue on
yeah.
tonight. So we're
Chin
going.
strap buckle, mouthpiece is in.
So we got up chiming in. We have Dika from Atlanta.
That's
See you in
Akita.
there. Ronald from Reston. Akita. Okay.
Yeah. Akita
Welcome,
got
Akita. Got Tori. Yeah.
Alexis. What's going on, Alexis? Daryl, what's happening? Lacomba. Lacomba. I love that name. That'll be awesome. Lacomba. Tremaine, Diana, Tishi, who's our person that we're buying a house
And
for.
love to you, Ronald.
We should be hopefully closing your deal soon. So, buying a house in Houston. Tarlo, what's up? And then Maritza, Renee, Bonita, Brenda McMillan,
Welcome,
Wadesboro,
Brenda.
North Carolina, in the house. All right.
That's a
So,
new one. I never seen that.
what's that?
That's a good one.
What's that?
Wadesboro. Never heard of that. Wadesboro.
Hey,
Never heard
man.
of that. That's a new.
There's
That's a
all
new name
kinds of
for a
things
town.
going on. All types of things going on. So let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. Uh, welcome for everybody. This is Mario Henry. I'm one of the principal and founders of the U.S. Housing Exchange. And Todd Lane, he is a very integral part of U.S. Housing Exchange, which is now the combination of U.S. Housing Exchange and MWR Financial is MWR Real Estate. So if you hear U.S. Housing Exchange, it's just our mother company that's allowing us to do what it is that we do. So what is it that we do? For those people who've never heard us before or anything like that, what we do is we create a bridge to home ownership. Okay, we create a bridge to home ownership. You either got a person who is renting an apartment, and that's what they do. They're renting an apartment. But then on the other side, you got people who are buying a house. Okay, but what about the people who don't want to rent, but then they're not qualified to buy right now? So what we do is we create a hybrid to where we have an army of investors, which we call capital contributors. Okay, because we don't like to use the term investors because then that allows us to have to succumb to SEC compliance, which is a fancy term to say that we're not allowed to say certain things. Okay, so when you hear the term capital contributors, that's interchangeable with real estate investing. Okay, so imagine being in a company that you can plug into and you can get your credit done, make sure you're not overpaying your taxes, make sure that you're going to be not paying the bank as much interest because we have a software program that's going to allow you to bypass interest and attack principal. And then at the same time, put you in position if you always wanted to own a house, you're going to have experts working with you to teach you each step of the way, get you your mortgage, get you everything. But in the interim time period, we're going to buy a house for you while we help you overcome your credit issues while you're temporarily renting the property. And that's what we have. Okay, so this is going to be something that's so cutting edge on what we have. It doesn't exist in the marketplace. There's only going to be people who's copying us. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do, and you can bring up the slides on Martina, is I'm not going to be real formal with the slides, but we got to put some things out there for people who've never heard this before. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about our home buyers program because our home buyers program is labeled Fired Your Landlord. That's what we're doing. We're doing an affirmation. Fire your landlord. Stop renting. Okay, that's the main thing that we want people to do. All right. Next slide when you're ready. So we're helping people buy homes who otherwise wouldn't be able to. Because you hear people that say they want to get a house. All right, but there's a lot of steps involved, and it can be very cumbersome for some people who are going through the process. All right, so that's the main thing on what it is that we have. We have to make sure that we help people, but then at the same time, we can only help those who want to help themselves. So when people come to work with us, we're not working for you. We're directing you on what you have to do, but then we're doing all the heavy lifting for you. Okay, so we only want to help those who desire to own a house. Okay, desire. That's what the term that we're talking about. All right, so what's the difference? A want can be a simple desire for something, a desire of a more of an intense craving that a person has for something. We're not going to worry about someone, that's a different conversation. So, we're going to talk about the desire to intense craving to stop paying someone else's mortgage. That's what we want. Okay, now you got a whole network of people who, if they invited you on this call today, it's because of the fact that they know you're renting and they know that you're going to get the help through our company, MWR Financial. And by being a member of this company is going to allow you to own a house. But we're only going to help people who have the desire. Okay, because there is a difference between those who want and those who desire. All right, so a buyer who wants to own a house is curious. They're curious about owning a house. But then they're skeptical at the same time, which is funny. How do I know you can help me? I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know if I can help you. I can help people. You are a variable. So then they talk to us like our program is unproven, and we've been doing this since 2009. All right, then they're never focused. I'll do a program like this and they doing something else. They yelling at their kids in the background and not listening to something. If they have been renting an apartment and nobody's ever talked to them about owning a house, we're talking to them about owning the house and then they kind of half word listen. And I know this because I talk to at least 15 MWR members per day on people who are putting in buyer applications. And then they ask me questions that I'm talking about in the podcast or is on the website. You're not focused. All right. And then you'll get somebody's opinion that has no knowledge of what you already heard, but you got to be able to get their opinion on something. That's not a desire. That's a want that can be quickly extinguished. Okay. Now let's talk about the people who we want to help. We're going to talk about because it starts with the mind state because I can't look at the credit because most people who's coming to us have bad credit. But if you got bad credit and you can follow directions and we're not going to be chasing you down. All right. I have a 609 number. So if you see 609, that's me calling you. All right. So people are like, well, I didn't know who it was, so I didn't answer the phone. What do you mean you didn't answer the phone because you didn't know who it was? You answer the phone. If you don't want to talk to the person who answers the phone, you hang up the phone. But if you are put in an application, expect a phone call from somebody you don't know because you put in an application. That mind boggles me. All right. And when we tell you not to make any new purchases, don't tell us that you just bought a car. Some people get pre-qualified. We tell them a pre-qualification amount, then they go out and buy a car, and then now they can't buy a house because their debt ratios are too high, and then they not can't qualify for the house. And then they remain focused throughout the time period. All right, they end up staying focused, and that's the biggest distraction of what I call a W-2 minded person is they can't get focused. They get distracted. Oh, I got too many things going on. You know what? You're always going to have too many things going on. Life is not going to slow all the way down so you can focus on something. You remember that's why, remember in high school when we, in elementary school, remember we had like one class, the teacher taught different subjects. And then all of a sudden we get to seventh grade, we changing classes, going in there. That was traumatizing. But what it did, it taught us to be able to multitask. You got to study, you got to learn different subjects. And, I'd be down on common education a lot. But that's the one thing I will talk about our school system is you're taught to multitask. All right. So you got to be able to remain focused. All right, Todd, you can stand. You can also chime in. You don't got to be just scenery. I'm
Nah, nah,
talking,
no.
but you can end up giving a shout out and tell me what you're thinking.
Nah, it's good. I mean, just like you said, I mean, we deal with a lot of different customers down through the years, and the ones that are successful are the ones that definitely can follow the directions and answer calls. These things sound trivial, but they're not. Because as you mentioned, a lot of times we're like, hey, everything is about timing. We're trying to do this in the most efficient and expedient way. And so when we are calling you, if you've been approved to come into the program and we're calling you, it's because there's time sensitive information, especially when there's things that we have to make sure to get your debt ratios in the right place. If there's something that the pre-qualification from a mortgage perspective we need immediately, because sometimes we have these deals that are out there that have a expiration date on it, right, Mario?
Yes,
Where if
yes,
we don't act in a certain amount of time, that particular rate might go away. So again, if we're looking, we've done this, we're experts in this, we've done this long enough that we know that there's a certain process and a certain timing and a certain response that we need in order for us to put everybody in the best situation that we know we can put them in. That's
and
what it
I'm
comes
not
down.
playing. I'm not playing. Where's Carmen Santiago with you? If you want to own a house and you sign up for something, we're gonna call you, we're gonna text you, and we're gonna send you an email. We're gonna wait 24 hours, then you're gonna get bumped, and somebody else is gonna come in. So just understand, we are coming in and we are business. Please do not sign up and then tell me, well, I still got to talk to my wife or I still got to talk to my. You do that before you sign up. That's a waste of time. So
And just
everything with us is about time.
and just to add to it, okay, I like using this analogy. Okay, a lot of times people from a buyer's perspective, they are utilizing or entering or looking at our program because similar to like a doctor, you go to a doctor when you're sick, right?
Yes.
People are coming to us because they're credit sick, right?
Yeah.
Financially sick. So
Yeah.
if you're coming to us for our expertise and help, just like with a doctor, if you go to a doctor and you're sick and the doctor tells you, okay, I need for you to do this, this, and this, and you say, well, maybe I'll do that or I won't do that, and then you're still sick, don't complain, right?
Yeah. You
Don't
can't.
get don't get annoyed at us for the ones that are trying to help you out to get out of that situation.
Well, it's funny because I have a client. We bought their property. They were in the 400s, both of them, 400 something credit score. Everybody told me don't do that deal because they're in the 400s. And I said, well, you know what? I started my business and I was in the 400s. I can't diss somebody just because they're in the 400s. I got to see what's in their mind. And what happens, we have been really fed a lot of bad information, from the time period we we're little all the way up to now. And now we've developed what I call stinking thinking. Is we have a certain way that we're going about certain things. We put our entertainment at such a high value. But then when it comes into something with our money, we're only looking at the tangible money off of what happens when we trade hours for dollars and somebody's willing to give us $50 or $100. But then now when we're telling somebody, you know what, before you buy a house, you have to end up making sure you're going through MWR and we need to make sure you're reducing your taxes. We need to make sure that you're using all the different tools that's coming along with this membership so we can help you stay in the house. We don't want you just to get into a house and then be foreclosed in 12 months. What are we doing for you? We're not doing that. We're trying to create successful transactions. We have to make sure if you, at this point in your life, got a 5 something credit score, 4 something credit score. Yeah, you could have had circumstances happening, but there's also the notion that we got to own that we made some bad mistakes and bad decisions. So we have to make sure that we clean that up so then now we can get in because now you have stuff where your fellow members are the ones that's going to make home ownership a reality. Because the same people that we have that we're trying to have houses bought within our same membership are the people who want to partner with us to get deals done and buy houses for you. All right, so next slide, please. So then now, when we go in and why we came up with what's happening. You got all these different credit repair. You know, when I started in the credit game, there was really no national credit repair companies. I started back in 2002. So there was a few companies that you might hear of, but it still was something to where people weren't really sure that you could actually fix credit. If you look at the FTC's website, it says that nobody can fix credit, only time can fix it, and we all know that was bogus.
Yeah, that wasn't
You
that
know,
wasn't
that
true.
wasn't actually true. But you know, what happens is when you get people and they're armed with knowledge on how everything works, then what happens is who's benefiting from having your credit bad? Who's really benefiting from that?
Banks,
The banks.
financial
The banks.
institutions charging you
Yes.
ridiculous interest, right?
Yes. Yes. So then now what happens is if I'm at 618 or I'm at 630, that could be a whole half a percent over an interest rate, which comes out to, you know, tens of thousands of dollars over a 30-year period. But it's small. It hits you like carbon monoxide. It doesn't just hit you dollar for dollar. That's why you got to pay attention to it. You got to pay attention to what's going on with your scores. All right. So now, if we're going to focus on credit, yes, we're going to focus on credit. But we live in a right now society. We live in a society that they want something right now. So what if you wanted to fix your credit? Why are you wanting to fix your credit? Because you want a house. So suppose we could buy a house for you right now. If you fall into the parameters, which we're going to go over real soon, if you follow our parameters, you follow what we're supposed to do, the program will move really fast as far as what you got to do. All right. But what happens is we don't believe in just saying we're going to get your credit so you can walk around at the cookout and talk about you got a 700 score. That's not it. We want you to get your credit to a certain point because we want you to leverage that. There's money that you can leverage with that good credit.
And
There's
the thing,
properties that we can buy with that good credit. Go ahead, Todd.
yeah, and the thing is that I think is real key about what you're saying. We've talked about this over the years. Is that you want to have a purpose and a reason why you want your credit the way it wants. Because we always talk about that barbecue, right? If you only want your credit score high so you can be at the barbecue, kicking back, talking about, oh, I got a 800 perfect credit score, and you're not doing anything with it, then what's the purpose?
Exactly. And that almost goes down to the philosophy that people have of paying off your house. I tell people come to me all the time trying to pay my house off. I'm like, why? Well, I just don't want that bill anymore. Yeah, but you're trapping the majority of your net worth into a vehicle. Now, if you know how to strategically utilize your equity, if you know how to strategically do certain things, some people want to sell their property to move. I'm like, why? Refinance, get your cash out, put a renter in there. They're going to pay the renter, but they're going to pay the rent. And then now you got tax-free money that you can leverage and do something with and make more money off of that. So we got to change the stinking thinking. We got to change this notion of being debt free with this Dave Ramsey approach. Dave Ramsey's talking about being debt free. You never will be debt free unless you live in a tent someplace and not use electric, not use anything that's in there, not pay property taxes. You always will have debt. The difference is are you going to leverage it so you can make yourself into a better, put yourself into a better situation? Okay, so now when we rent a 3-bedroom house nationally in 2021, the average was 2036. $2,036. All right. Now, in some markets, if you're in Tupelo, Mississippi, you're not probably paying $2,036. If you're in LA, you're not paying $2,036. But what happens is the national average on a 3-bedroom house is $2,036. All right. But then here's our problem is you're renting this property. So every month you're paying a landlord money, so then you got another 30 days to be able to live there, and then you get another 30 days when you pay another rent. But what's happening is you're not building anything. And what's going to happen is your rent is going to start to keep increasing very slow because of inflation. Okay, so inflation means that more dollars are being printed and more dollars are put into circulation. So the more dollars that is put into circulation devalues the dollars that are already there. So right now we're at about 2.5% inflation rate off of where everything else is. So let's take a look at what happens on the same 3-bedroom house in the future, what's it going to cost us? Okay, so in 30 years at 2.5% inflation, that same place, the same exact place, will be in the future $4,200 per month. So your rent pretty much doubled. So then now, what are you doing to be able to maintain that? So then now, what's the goal? So then now, what's going to happen is at some point you got to stop the madness and stop this thing. So then you can lock in a payment that's good for the next bit of time until you want to get your equity out. And there's ways that we have to do things when we harvest equity that I'll get into at some point in the future. But for now, our goal is to be able to get into a house. All right, so
let's get the audience and give them a little shock factor of this whole rent thing with
absolutely.
these rent payments out and no equity, right?
Remember, you're
So as
paying
Mar
rent every single month. But go ahead, Todd.
yeah, and you're paying somebody else's rent. So just to kind of bring this home, so if you had a monthly rent, and this is a nominal, this is not even a high rent, right? Of $1,000 a month. After 1 year, that $1,000 a month, you put out $12,000. In 5 years, you put out $60,000. And now what you got to realize is that all this money went to paying somebody else's mortgage. That they're getting a benefit by building equity, being able to pay, meet their mortgage note, getting the ability to write off the taxes of that mortgage payment. And now all you have is that you paid out close to $60,000 in 5 years. What does that look like in 10? It's double.
Well, know what? Before you even go into 10 years, when you make your rent payment, are you making it with after tax dollars?
Yeah.
So then now you got to factor in when you get $1,000 in your paycheck, what do you have? What was the gross on it before you got $1,000? It's more like $1,300. So then now for you to earn $1,300, you're going to net about $1,000. So then now when you factor that in, that's more than the 5 years. That adds a lot to it. So go ahead and talk about what 10 years would be, because everybody should be doing is think about what your rent payment is, times that by 12, times it by the months that you've been renting. And that is a prime example of throwing money out the window. Now you get some folks, self-employed people. I'm going to pick on you for a minute. We don't want to pay taxes. MWR, we want to reduce the tax outlay by showing and taking all of our tax deductions, which is 100% legal. But what happens is when we look and start to write off everything that we can, we're going to reduce our buying power. So yes, we didn't pay taxes, or we reduced our taxes, but guess what ended up happening? Now we can't buy. Now we're stuck renting. So then now if I'm paying a $12,000 in rent for that year that I couldn't do anything, now guess what? I threw 12 grand away. So do I take the money, get taxed on the money, so then I can get my house? Once you get your house, you can start writing stuff off. But when you're going to use the bank, you need 2 years of income that you're not writing off everything. So that means if you're self-employed and you want to come into the program, I'm immediately going to say, what did you pay taxes on? Don't tell me I don't know. Look at it, talk with your accountant, look to see what needs to happen, because you may have to amend those taxes or you can't buy. All right? Because we've been going through countless people and telling them the same thing. You can't write off everything and try to buy a house. You can't do that. You follow the MWR game plan after you own a house. Now, if you've already done that, then now what we got to do is we got to look to see what is going to happen. And then now you can be able to modify your taxes, or you can start doing stuff over the course of the next 2 years so you can buy, but keep in mind you're going to be throwing your money away. All right, next slide, please.
Now, did you want to transition, Mario, and go over, since we're talking about the things that we're looking at to qualify, did you want to go over to the buyer's app, or did you want to go to the next?
Well, let's go through the rest of the presentation and then we can go through what the application looks like. All right. So what do? We match motivated buyers with motivated sellers. So then what happens is if you're a renter with bad credit but good income who dreams of home ownership, we are going to match you with motivated sellers, homeowners that need to sell their home quickly due to issues like foreclosure, divorce, death, illness, whatever the situation is, what's making them motivated. When we can put the two together, then now we can get the property bought for a discount. Then now what you're getting is you're paying what the property is worth. You're paying what you call the after repair value. So when you go into the program, we're going to qualify you based upon your income. And then we're going to look at your debt. Then based on your income and your debt, we're going to give you a pre-qualification amount. Sometime if you're not close to something, we're going to give you a game plan, which means that doesn't mean that you're rejected, but that means that we're going to put you in, we're going to put you in the oven a little bit more because you're not ready yet. So, but we're going to tell you what you need to do, and the MWR membership is going to help you get there. All right. Now, the motivated sellers, we're going to be looking. People are going to say, well, I get a selection of my house and everything. Yes. And when we get a certified realtor, which we have a lot that signed up for the program, we're going to show you the properties that work. We never get the property first. That's why people keep on giving me properties to look at and everything. I'm like, why? We're not going to buy a property without a motivated buyer. So once we have the motivated buyer, we're going to match that up with the property, and that's what we're going to use to do the deal. All right. So that's how everything works. We're like a matchmaking service to try to be able to do that. So what qualifies as a motivated buyer? Where's that term coming from? Is you need 2 years of documented income. Okay, you need 2 years of documented income. The only time we could get away with less is if you're coming in with a degree on where you just got a job, and then we can utilize that degree with your job offer. That's where it can come in with. All right, so that's what we're doing. Irvin, you're correct. Irving Fryer is a famous NFL player, former NFL player. And I'm actually going to be on a podcast with him in the next 2 days, and we're going to talk a little bit about his story. So make sure you find out the information on our podcast because we're going to talk about a lot, and a lot of it has to do with the financial IQ. But we need to make sure that you have 2 years full-time documented income. All right? You got to be current on your bills. We're going to look back. We're not going to take you. We're not going to buy a house for you and you tell me that you're not current on your bills. Why would I do that? That's you got to get yourself current. Okay, which means that doesn't mean that if you have a collection and you didn't pay the collection, we're not talking about that. But when I ask you to send me over a utility bill and you send me something that shows you're 90 days past due and you got candles in your house for light, you can't be in the mindset of trying to buy a house if you don't even have light. All right. So we want to make sure that you are current on your bills, and you need to have saved 3.5% to 5% of the purchase price. Where's the difference? If your credit's too jacked up and you in the fours, just know that you're coming in with 5% because that means that you're more of a risk. So then you got to put more money out and you got to put more skin in the game to make it more attractive, because the first thing I'm going to tell the capital contributor, they're going to know what your score is. We're fully transparent with our partners. So if you have a capital contributor that is partnering with us to be able to get the deal done, then they need to know what your scenario is. And then we dictate to see that, we could get this done for 3.5%. If you're really jacked up, it'll be 5%. An example, the percent means that if you have $200,000 that you're qualified to buy, that you need to make sure you have $7,000 to $10,000 in savings. Please don't come in and say that you want a $500,000 house, and then I look and then you tell me that you saved $4,000. That's fine to be on the savings, but don't fill out an application because you're nowhere near the savings amount to qualify. Just use your calculator, 3.5%, and then we're going to get you pre-qualified based on your income. So you could tell me you want a $500,000 house, but you have to be making the income and then have the debt structure to where you could support that income. All right, because FHA, which is a common first-time homebuyer program, and we're going to have Keith from Cardinal and Charlene next week. But it's going to be a very strict equation on what you're going to be qualified to buy. And we're going to tell you everything on what we got to get done. So then you're going in with your eyes wide open. All right. And then now what's going to happen is typically in the market right now, you don't get any seller's assist, nothing. You have to come in with your down payment, and then closing costs is about 4% of the house purchase. 4%. All right. You can Google what closing costs means. I want people to be educated. So then you're not getting the foundation of the information that you're getting just from somebody telling you. Closing costs would be your attorney fees, the title fees, taxes that you got to pay, escrows that you got to have, the mortgage company fees, everything like that is in the closing costs. Okay, so we're having you, if it's 4%, we're covering 2%, you're coming in with 2%. But that money can be saved while you're in the program. So the average program time should be about 6 months. So in 6 months, you're saving another 2%. And then last but not least, the desire to own the house. Because if you have the desire, you're going to follow. Don't be having the desire, and then once you get into the house, you get into lazy mode. You keep that intensity up, because getting into the house is your first step. While you're in MWR, you're going to get a real estate portfolio that we're going to help you with. You're going to learn how to flip properties. You're going to learn everything. But the first step is to own your own house. That's the first one. Okay, so that's what qualifies. And the ability to follow the plan that we lay out for you. If you had identity theft, or if you have things that's going on in your credit that you don't recognize, we're going to tell you, go to the police station, get a police report, get it over to us. All right? Don't tell me that it's been 2 weeks and you're telling me about your kid's dance recital. Get over to the police station and get it done. We don't
What's the
believe in excuses.
in addition to what you're saying, Mario, the biggest thing is that don't hold things back. Don't hold things back. If you know you had identity theft or whatever it might be, it's very important when we're doing financial transactions, especially a financial transaction such as purchasing a house with capital contributor money. We need to know, and for you guys to be transparent that are entering the program. Because if you
Absolutely.
hold something back, and then we're thinking we're getting the closing, we got everything lined up, and then we get a surprise. We don't like surprises. I know
No.
I don't like them, and I know definitely Mario, I know you don't like them. So we want to reiterate that you got to be able to make sure you're transparent as far as your financial side.
Absolutely. That's a good point, Todd, because we get certain things, we get to a certain point, people will be investing money in you. We need to know. If you got child support. If you owe people money that's outside the credit report. You got to know these things, or at least find out these things. Because, when you put up money, that money's non-refundable. Okay, so if you get in and there's something that you didn't disclose to us, and then it doesn't, and your credit's good and everything like that, and that thing jams you up, you're gonna be jammed up. Because at the end of the day, this is business. All right, that's why we tell people to make sure they're paying attention.
And I'll
Next
just
slide,
put
please.
one last tidbit with that. Biggest thing that people run into is taxes. File your taxes. Make sure your taxes are in order.
Oh Lord, and
I'll
that's
leave
why
I'll leave
That's the
that.
reason why I love MWR Financial to a point on where it is, because the focal point be the taxes. The only thing is, like I mentioned, it's great because of the fact that you are a W 2 wage earner and you want to take advantage of self employment tax structures. It's 100% legal, but you can't go overboard. I got somebody that's trying to buy a house, and for whatever reason, they thought their accountant thought it was a good idea to give them negative $600 worth of income. I'm like, dude, what were you going to do with that? You didn't need to be at negative money not to pay any taxes. I mean, just because you're allowed to do something, that doesn't mean to do it. Use common sense. We got to make sure something makes sense, because now you can't buy anything. All right. So, make sure that that's where it is. So, there's a lot of successful people that came through our program. We have a lot of success stories that's on our website. There's a lot of different ways to be able to be successful. So, what makes a person successful? We want to make sure if you got a bill, especially that reports to the credit bureaus, you have to have it on auto pay. We're going to document. We're going to document that, because if you have a situation that happens and you have something that you're supposed to pay and you didn't pay it, you will lose your down payment if it comes down to the fact that you can't buy because you did something that you weren't supposed to. So we have you sign disclosures that you're going to have all your bills on auto pay. We don't play around with that.
Yeah,
All right.
it's just like you think about it. You know that whole thing where it's like you have that kid and he's like, "Oh, my dog ate my homework," right? We can't have that. We can't have that when we're getting close to closing and then you get a 30-day late. You get a
Yeah.
30-day late, I mean, you're blowing up the whole thing. So we got to reiterate. That's why we're reiterating these things that make you successful.
And I have gotten the 30 days late off right before closing, but don't put me in that situation because that's to my discretion whether or not we're going to do those things. So, don't go there with us. Make sure you're paying your bills. Answer your phone, email, and text like we mentioned. That's going to make you successful. And follow directions. That's going to make you successful. We're not being jerks, but our time is money. So the more efficient we can be with time is the better it's actually going to be. And you got to be able to remain focused. You're buying a house for the first time. I got a young lady buying a house for the first time. Whenever I talk to her, it's like some kind of pandemonium's happening to her. And I'm like, yo, you got to stay focused, man. Well, I got this, I got this, the job. So your job's always going to be crazy. There's never going to be a time to where your job's not going to be crazy. But you don't understand. I got this person died, this thing. And I'm like, yo, the grief is understandable when somebody passes away. But there's no one that passed away is going to tell you not to handle your business because they passed away. There's no one. No one's going to tell you that. So don't use that as an excuse. Make sure you handle your business. Make sure you pay your bills. Remember to do that. No new purchases while you're in the program. Talk to us if you're going to get something. Well, my car broke down in the middle of the purchase. Make sure get an extended warranty. Do that before you even get in the program. So then if something happens to your car, use your extended warranty to be able to do that. If it comes down to something happened, you couldn't do it with the warranty, then you're gonna have to rent a car until you get out of the program.
Yeah,
You can't do it.
and just to, some people might wonder why we're saying this, but reason why these things are on there is because what is it?
We
we've
all
been
been through these different things.
well,
I've
what
been
was
through the pain.
well, not only just that, but we had so many examples. Just like you had pre-qualified a young lady, she was able to, buy.
Oh
What was
God.
it? What was it like? She was qualified to buy close to a $400,000
Four
house.
hundred $1,000 house that she comes to us saying she just bought a car
Bought a
over
new
the
car.
weekend. It
Is
was
that
eight
going to be
hundred dollar car payment, and she went and she can't qualify because she was trying to buy a house in North Jersey. And I said, "What part of don't buy anything did you not understand?" It was an emergency. I said, "Well, I hope you're going to sleep in that car because." You could have leased the car, had a shorter payment, and then bought that same car. People don't think, man. Stinking thinking. You could have, you could have, you could have leased the car, got the lower payment off of the lease. It wouldn't have destroyed your debt ratios. The same car for 800 would have been about a $300 lease. Wouldn't have messed up your debt ratios that much. Close on your loan, then purchase a car. You could purchase your lease at any time during the car. During the time period, people don't think, and they make a decision like that. Guess what? She can't be in the program now. All right, so that's why these things that we talk about are so important. All right, next slide. All right, so I won't go through each of these bullet points, but the first step is we're going to have a financial plan of action, which means that you got to make sure you're taking advantage of your MWR membership. All right, then you're going to apply to MWR real estate. If you're accepted, you're going to pre-qualify. I'm going to go through the application process, and if you filled out an application, I'm going to tell you some reasons why you have not been contacted so far. I'm going to tell that thing to you. Then what's going to happen, you're going to be matched up with the certified realtor, or if we find a wholesale property, the certified realtor is going to understand how we buy. So you can't just start finding properties on Zillow or anything like that. Those properties, there's not enough equity in the property for it to make sense for us to buy the property. Remember, we're flipping this property. This is a real estate flip that we're doing. So it has to make sense for our capital contributors because they're doing it because they're trying to make some money. Yes, they want to help you, but this is a business transaction and they want it to happen. Then
Can
we
I
buy the
interject?
house.
Can I interject something too as well?
Of
Setting the
course.
proper expectation as Mario's talking about the process. We have you got to understand that this is not your dream home. This is many of your first time. This is your first home. Okay. So your expectation, you got to have reasonable expectations. We're going to get you something nice, but understand this is not going to be the Taj Mahal, right?
Won't be
You know,
HDTV either.
exactly.
Don't watch an episode of Flip This House and think that we're putting flat screen TVs all throughout the house with the jacuzzi tub with the different colors and everything like that going out in the water fountain. We're
Yeah.
not doing all that. We're
Yeah. We're
not
not.
doing all that. We are having you fire your landlord. We're gonna give you a new kitchen, new bathrooms. You're creating the packages that we have. You're creating the color schemes and everything like that. Within reason. All right. So then the rehab work will start, and then you move in the property. Then we fix your credit into a point to where the mortgage can start, and then guess when you're at the closing table, and then your landlord is fired. That's the process. That process takes about 4 to 6 months. Okay, so the items that we need for mortgage pre-qualifications. Okay, so then when you fill it out and we get accepted, once you're accepted, we need 2 years of W-2s. If you're self-employed or get 1099 income, we want 2 years tax returns. We're not even going to play around with anything until we look to see what you pay taxes on. If you were in there and you took a negative $60,000 hit off of the thing, guess what? You better go back to that accountant and then make sure that you come in, or you're going to have to wait it out. And you're going to have to wait out those 2 years and then be able to do something. But then in those 2 years, calculate what you're paying in rent, times that by 24. That's what you lost. Okay, so if you're either going to pay the IRS or you're going to pay the landlord. But if you got your MWR membership and you owe 50 grand, use your MWR membership, get them to be able to show you how to reduce those costs, and then you may be shocked on how much you'll be saving at that point. We need 60 days worth of bank statements and 2 most recent paycheck stubs. You do that, we look at everything. Once we clear that, we put you right with the certified realtor, and or we start looking for properties that are under market value. My certified realtors are out there. Don't be waiting around for us to give you a deal. Once you know how these pre-qualifications work, start submitting people to come into the program on your own. Put people on these podcasts for them to see. They can sign up for the program. You have to be a member of MWR for us to buy you a property. You have to be a member. Now, you don't have to be the member to where you use the network marketing structure. You don't have to do that. You don't have to build a team. You don't have to be anywhere, but you do have to pay the $80 a month membership of what it is for us to be able to purchase the home for you. Okay, but mind you, a lot of people have a lot of bad misconceptions on how direct marketing, aka network marketing, works. It's not this thing because of the fact that you saw somebody selling weight loss or saw somebody selling, you know, vacations or legal services or whatever,
Or vitamins. Yeah.
vitamins or whatever. We're talking that's only the method to get the stuff out there. All network marketing is you're using word of mouth and you're getting compensated for bringing people who want to own a house in. If you bring somebody into the company and we select them to buy a home, we have enough investors to buy, capital contributors to buy probably about 400 people houses right now. We have enough investors for that. And when I say investors, automatically just think capital contributors because I'm so used to saying the word. But the only variable we're not going to just take you on though. If we're only going to take people on that we're going to be successful with. If you don't have the makeup to be able to give us the success now, we're going to give you a game plan. Okay, so we want to see if you're self-employed, and I'm talking to a lot of self-employed people now, is I want to see those tax returns. I want to make sure you're not writing off too much of your money. Next slide, please. Okay, so before we go to the questions, let's bring out the the form that people will fill out when you fill and show you what we look at when we do these.
Okay. Second.
Does Martina have that, Todd?
Yeah, I just got to share it. I got to take the presentation off and share it now.
All right. Okay, so when you go in, this is what it looks like on our side. Okay, when we go in as an admin. Also, if the ask the expert, that comes directly to me. So if you end up getting a question, don't hold the question. Whether it be if you're a capital contributor, if you're a realtor, if you're whatever, um, we can actually get that thing done. All right. So what we're going to look at, the first thing I'm going to look at is what's your monthly rent payment? Because if your monthly rent payment's $400 and you're telling me you want to be in Manhattan, that's going to be a red flag. I would hope that you understand that you're not going to get a mortgage in Manhattan and be at $400. So I need people to be realistic on where the situation is. All right, then I'm going to look at when does your lease end, and the most important is early termination of rent possible. Typically, you got to pay 60 days, 2 months rent, and then you can get out of any lease. That's typically how it is. But we're going to look at it now. Then we're going to look at current savings. Savings can also mean your retirement savings. It doesn't just mean what's in your bank account. Because if we don't see that you got a proper amount of savings, what exactly are we going to be talking about? That you need to save more money, which means you need to use your membership and make money through MWR. So the current available savings, we're going to take a look at it. And then from that point, we are going to be looking to the next part, employment status. You could be retired, but we want to make sure that the income that you receive through Social Security, pensions, everything that's combined, we want to make sure that where you want to live is going to be matched up. If you tell me you're making $10 an hour and you're in LA, I'm going to be like, unless there's somebody going on this property with you, you're not getting a property in LA. It's not realistic. All right, and we're not gonna snow you. We're gonna keep it real with you, and we're gonna tell you what the situation is. All
And
right, then we're
I just wanted to interject one other thing about the savings. A lot of people, if you have a 401k, okay, most 401ks, just about every 401k has a special provision for if you're buying your first home, where you can borrow from that 401k and they give you great loan terms. They'll give you like
yes,
30, they give you like 30 years on the loan term for out of your 401k. So
it's really nice.
yeah, I just wanted to bring that out because a lot of times people just say, "All right, I'm looking in my savings account. I don't have that much money, but bang, you got 100, two, $300,000 in your 401k that you can take, up to I think like 50% of it that can be used as a down payment.
Yes, that's true. And when we say 401k, government employees, TSP, teachers,
403, 40,
nonprofits,
yeah,
403b,
3Bs.
it's all the same thing. All right. So then now we're going to look at when I see self-employed, I cringe because I'm thinking to myself, you're putting what it is that you're making, but it's not what you're making, it's how much you pay in taxes on. Okay, so that's what that whole thing is going to be. All right, so then we're going to look. Now, if you're self employed, you need 2 years of 1099 self employed income. If you just started being self employed, you can't get your house with 1 year. You need 2 years. And then they're going to take the average of the 2 years. Now, we have obviously with COVID, 2020 was kind of screwed up. So we're going to take what you're making this year, and then you also need to make sure you're doing profit and loss statements, but we'll help you with those as everything works. All right, then we're going to look at that credit score. Now, the credit score, please do not give us Credit Karma. That is not credit scores. Okay, credit scores are going to be as close if you know FICO scores. Now, you could get a free account on Experian.com, and it will at least give you your FICO '08 score. But people don't realize there's different versions of FICO. There's FICO '08, which is a consumer score. What the mortgage company's using is FICO
Like
'02
oh
or
02.
FICO '04. They're using either one of those two versions. So if you are like, I got an 800 because I'm looking at smart credit, that FICO is probably more like 714. All right. So, don't be shocked when you see that. All right. And then we're also going to be looking at, when we ask you about military service, that means that we're looking to see if you can be in the VA on a VA loan. And, if you've had bankruptcy, you need 2 years seasoning from the discharge date. Okay. So if you enroll and you show me that you're in an active bankruptcy, we can't even do nothing with you. If you're in a bankruptcy, we're going to look at the discharge date and we're going to have you send over your discharge papers. Okay. Then we're also, if you've been foreclosed, you cannot buy a house until 3 years from that sheriff date or from that date. All right. So that's kind of the way on how that stuff works. We find out your bedrooms, bathrooms, where you want to be, and then we knock it out from there. Then you're going to get a call. I call every last person personally. If you qualify, I'm going to call you. I'm calling you from a 609 number. So, be ready. Okay, Eric Witherspoon, who's underwriting these deals? Myself. I approve every single deal that comes through. I approve it. Okay, then I approve it, and then I get with my team and I say, this is what it is that we're doing and everything. And then if it makes sense, we do it. I look at the credit report, I make sure nothing crazy is going on. I look, and then from that point, we go in. Can someone use the program through NACA? You'll never be able to buy a house in NACA in a seller's market. That loan takes way too long, and what the terms that they want to do, it's very attractive for you because they're showing you, hey, you don't need money down, you don't need this. We can't wait for NACA.
Yeah, the people that we've talked to and what we've seen and experienced with NACA is that it's a very long, for those people that even get into the house, it's a very long, drawn out process. We're talking about 6 months or less, right? That's our
Yes.
averages.
Yes, and we would not buy a house for somebody with no skin in the game. People have to stop thinking that you could get in for something with nothing. It's not going to happen. We want to see that commitment. Even people that's having a VA loan that's 100% financing, if we're buying the house for you, you need 3.5% down. All right, so that's the main thing off of how everything works. Somebody says, "Can you get a house built for you?" The answer is yes. We're doing 18 duplexes right now in Houston. We're doing feasibility on 2.5 acres that we're buying right now. So yes, we can do new construction, but you have to be making the income to where the deal has to make sense. All right. We can't do new construction if you're qualified to buy at 150,000. The cost for what the new construction will cost to build will not make sense. So we have to make sure everything that we do, it has to make sense. Okay. So I wouldn't tell somebody to come into the program expecting new construction. That takes a long time. And we want to make sure that we're not just buying and building on a single lot. We probably wouldn't do that. But if you come in and you say, look, I got a lot, and it can be able to have 5, 6 other properties on there, I'll be interested. All right, so we definitely be interested on that. Okay, so that's kind of the way that stuff works. If you tell us something, we're expecting what you tell us to be accurate. That's where it is. We don't want you calling wood. If
Yeah.
you tell us something, we're going based upon what you're telling us, and we're formulating everything based upon. Now, we do trust and we verify, but we're still going to take what you tell us on at face value. Now, once you get into the house, I mean, once you get in, and once we buy the house, you're going to be. We put cameras we put cameras on our property, so you will be able to look from your app and be able to see the property being renovated. You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to know what's happening. All right. So that's kind of the way we get everything done. Anybody got any more questions? I'm fielding questions. We got a good 6 minutes to be able to knock out as many questions as we can.
Yeah, just while we're seeing what other questions come, but it can't reemphasize enough. As much as we're transparent, and I've seen a lot of comments. Mario, Todd, thanks for being transparent. Just as much as we're making it a point to be transparent. If you're coming into this program, you have to be transparent with us.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's very important. It's
We
very
we
important.
we ask you. We're bearing our souls to you. We're giving you a chance where everybody else would throw you away. We're embracing you. We're hugging you. We're saying it's going to be all right. We got you.
I
But
would
you
even
got
say
to make sure.
I would say, and I can personally testify to this. Mario comes off as a you know taskmaster, maybe in some ways, or just very very firm. I'll say that, firm. And I will say it comes out of compassion. It's like the parent type situation. Our parents got on our cases. They might even jack us up and beat our butts, but that's because they wanted better for us. And the thing is that we want better for each and every one of us. But you got to be transparent too. You got to bring your game to the table as well.
If you see our testimonials, you'll see that I am firm. I am firm because we've been taught for 18 years in the school system that's training us to be an employee. We're brainwashed. We're absolutely brainwashed. MWR is helping you become unbrainwashed. But unfortunately, I've been a martial artist. I've been in martial arts and aikido and a few other different techniques for over 20 years. You think when the sensei talks to me, it's kind of strict. When I'm on the football field, I can't tell you how many times I got cursed out. you know, but it comes in to if you aren't going to be getting the information and you get it watered down, and I try to think on how I can save your feelings, the message is going to be lost in the translation. Now, we'll never be ignorant, we'll never disrespect you. Never. But what we will do is we'll make sure that you're doing something the right way, and I will call you out if you're telling me an excuse. I will call you out straight up. And I expect us to be called out if we're giving you an excuse. I don't believe in that. We all have to be accountable. We have to be accountable to each other and we have to be accountable to ourselves. Okay. So, after joining your team, are we in place for a year? How do we become involved in the investing aspect of the process? I'd recommend, Davis, that you look back from last Wednesday and you look at the Capital Contributor podcast. They're all there. Okay. Um, so let me see. Man, these
Well,
questions flying, man. So I'm
no,
trying.
no, I'll
All
get
right.
I'll get the one you want me to get it. So was it Amina asked the question, do I go to the membership area to be a certified realtor?
Yes, you go in and fill out a certified realtor form. Now, I'm not contacting you. All these certified realtors waiting for a contact. What's happening is you start studying the videos on the buyer side. To be a certified realtor, you have to understand the buyer's process. You have to understand. So when I talk to a realtor, I get really annoyed if you didn't take the time to look at the website. If you don't take the time to look at everything that we put into place and then you ask me questions that are right on the website. We put the stuff out there. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on this app, on the website, everything. Utilize the information so we can end up being able to get everything else in. All right, so that is that one. So once you get in and you look at everything, go in to ask the expert, and we could get a conference call if you're a certified realtor, and then I can speak to you about what the next step will be.
All right, Zach.
Other question?
Yeah, Zach. I think it's Zachariah. He
Oh,
asked,
wait,
"Is real?"
Michael had this question beforehand. What about
Okay.
flipping house? How does that work? Capital contributor, same thing that we said before. Go ahead.
Yeah, Zachariah. He said, "Is real estate dead or not yet?" So I guess what he's asking is what you got to understand. There's different markets for real estate. As Mario had mentioned, we have been in a seller's market, which means that there's a lot of demand and a small amount of supply. So as properties go on the market, they get bought up real quick. We are moving out of that seller's market, and so we're moving into a different period where there's different and new opportunities. It's just like anything else. You
Yes.
got to know what the opportunities are, regardless of what the market is. So in the seller's market, there's certain strategies we have to implement. The pickings, so to say, are not as fruitful. But now we're entering into a process point where in a buyer's market where we're going to have a lot more surplus. And unfortunately, but fortunately, these foreclosure mortgage moratoriums that are being released, it's going to allow for a lot more supply to come on the market. So it's going to be a different type of situation. So, real estate's never dead. It's just different strategies.
Absolutely. So, the market is changing. We're towards the end of the summer. We got one month and change, and when kids start going back to school, that officially ends the summer mark. I mean, the big home buying season. So then, once the fall happens, and now you got these foreclosures being released, we're gonna have a whole different market yet, and it's gonna be fun. So just because don't feel dejected if we can't buy right now. We're not going anywhere. This is what we're doing. Adamo, the president of the company, said that he wants to get 5% of the entire renters market. Jay Z just put up 100 and something million to be trying to
Or
fund some other weak
rent to
rent to
own.
own company. So we're gonna embarrass that. Jay Z done wasted his money. So we got an army, we got MWR, we got soldiers out there getting to the masses. That's what we're gonna do. So we got this. We got this. We're going to be there because we are going to have the better mousetrap because we're going to be having rallies like this once a month, making sure that we're on the same page. We're doing a podcast every week on a different subject related to real estate. We're going to have every single thing that's there. We're going to be developing a buy and hold program that's going to be coming out next year. That's going to be very lucrative. We're using that. Next year is the year to fire your boss. Now we firing landlords. Next year we adding the boss to that. All right, so we in the lab working on that whole thing.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of strategies. We can't, it's just like anything else. Term Mario likes to use. We can't fire hose you guys. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
we can't.
There's a lot of different ways, like, foreclosure rescue, things of that nature. We can't just fire hose you with all these things. We have to start from the beginning with the flips, and then we get into new
If I
construction
start
and
talking subject twos
to
and all this, you guys
yeah,
would be like, man, get out of here.
yeah, but there's a lot more different areas within real estate that we can structure different strategies that will allow for the whole making wealth real. So,
Hey,
uh,
if you guys get a question that's unrelated to us being a buyer, ask the expert and I'll answer your question. All right. So that's kind of where it is. That's why we give you small bits of information. I got 10 hours worth of buyers information that's on there. Everybody should be using the US Housing Exchange.com. Go under the buyer section, look at the testimonials. Do not fill out an application there. You fill it out on MWR Real Estate. You go under wealth accumulation. Go into your back office. Go under wealth accumulation. When you click on wealth accumulation, you're going to see MWR Real Estate. Click on MWR Real Estate. Then you click on the buyers section of the platform. Then fill out your application. I'm getting about 3 to 5 applications per day. But if we look and we're looking for certain things. A couple people that I reached out this morning while I've been on the call, when I've been on the podcast, they've been responding. So I'm glad they reached out to me within 24 hours because then now that's going to make sure. So we're going to be having 2 more people that we're going to be buying houses for, along with the other 3 people that we're buying a house for within MWR. We got Tishi. Her loan should be closing in the next few weeks. So she's going to be one of our Houston deals. We got Joy Guidry, who's buying a house in New Jersey. That's closing. Hopefully, it closes on Friday. We got Mia Harper. That looks like her property just got accepted. She's an MWR member in New Jersey. So if you're a capital contributor, you may be getting the nod to be able to come in and look at what happens off of where it is. So we're starting to get our momentum. Our goal is to be doing about 50 properties per month. And then we're going to be moving in from there. We're going to be doing new construction all over the country. After we do this first 18 duplexes, that within 10 months, we're going to have that whole complex done. We're going to now start bringing out MWR real estate deals all over the country on new construction. That's going to be coming in. How to choose the real? I don't understand that question. I'm trying to see if there's any final questions before we wrap up.
there was one. There was one. I mean, it's kind of, but the Helen Williams asked, "What are the steps if you want to use your 401k to be a contributor?" Basically, it's
That's a ask the expert because that's
okay.
on the contributor side.
Okay.
Because there's a couple moving parts, and I don't want to lose the momentum of what we're talking about with the buyers.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else got anything? Anybody got anything? Please make sure that you look back at the other podcasts. If you go on the fan page, on none of our buyers, we've done about 5 of these. None of them have been the same. We talk about new information and build up off of what this will be. Next week, we won't talk about where that would be. How do you choose the realtor? By area. Good question. What we do is if we have on the capital contributors, the first thing I do when somebody comes in, I look at all the capital contributors and I see where are they. If they're not, I mean, not capital contributors, certified realtors, I'm sorry. If we don't have one in that area, I'm going to tell you to recruit one. I'm going to tell you to say this exact phrase. You don't make it be like it's for you, because then you're going to be able to recruit the realtor at the same time. My company is buying several properties in this area. I'm looking to try to get with a realtor that works with investors. And so now what that's going to do, that's going to allow you to interview that realtor to make sure that you got somebody open-minded, willing to be able to work with you. If you got somebody that is even giving you a tenth of you know, trying to kind of big time you, move on. You're trying to give them business. You're trying to show them how to be a repeat customer. If they can't see that, then we got to keep it moving. All right, but as this thing starts to continue, you will get a certified realtor that's in your area to not only help you, to be able to help that. If you're a certified realtor, you need to let your upline know that you are working in that area, so then you guys can start rallying. You do not need us to be giving you deals. Start putting together your own home buying seminars and use our system to generate the business that's going to come from it. I promise you, you will be a hero in your local market. And Guillermo brought up a good point. Go to your local real estate investors meeting and let them know you have what this process is going to be. You'll be able to pull people in that's interested in being a capital contributor. Most people at real estate investors meeting never flip the property in their life. They want to be in the mix and they want to be around the people who do. So you can be able to kind of recruit those people and be able to bring them in. Maybe start sponsoring a meetup. Go to meetup.com and talk about firing your landlord. Start getting the community into those different meetups, and then you'll gradually be able to bring them over to this part. All right. So there's a lot of techniques we can do, and then we can be able to knock this thing out. All right. So when you go back and you look at MWR real estate page, the same one that you're looking at the podcast on now, scroll back and then look at the Wednesdays we did, and you can be getting nuggets from that. The way you got to do something is understand that we were put into a situation to where we were doomed to fail. The W-2 strategy will lead you to fail. It's gonna fail. So you got to know that. That's why we're in here. That's why we're trying to get residual income, because the system that's set up is gonna have us fail. We're gonna run out of money. It's not there. The math is not to our benefit. So we have to be able to fire our landlord. We got to be a capital contributor. We're going to be putting our buy and hold program together. And then I promise you, next year, we are going to be firing bosses. Until that time, I really thank everybody for their attention. And let's close this momentum up from Friday. Let's keep on getting more members. If you're on here and you're contemplating being a member, you're going to be seeing the best financial movement that's ever been around, ever. Because we're not just trying to get you an insurance policy. We're not just trying to fix your credit. We're not just trying to be able to get you into a house. We're not just trying to reduce your taxes. We're doing everything. Everything from the bottom to the top. Brian House created something that I don't even know if Brian knew what he created, on the power of what he created, because he took the underlyings on every single thing that you possibly could have wealth, and he put it all on the foundation and gave you guys a membership for $119 or 118, whatever it is, per month. You can be able to now own a business, get the write-offs on what you would need to be self-employed, and then be able to reach somebody to help them increase their financial IQ. That's what it'd be about. So Todd, I appreciate you being on here, brother. Martina, We couldn't do any of this without you. I really, yeah, I got on you the other day. I'll admit it, but it was just to be able to make sure you can be able to get to the next level. We got to get to the next level. We all got to get to the next level. If
Indeed.
I end up giving you a pep talk, I give Todd a lot of pep talks. If I give you one, I care about you and I want you to succeed.
Yeah, and appreciate you,
Thank you,
Mario, for
guys.
all that you're doing. Thank everybody, MWR family. You guys have a great night. See us back on Wednesday. Take care.